Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome to week 18 of our art class. I'm happy to see you, and I appreciate all the wonderful prepared papers that you've sent me so far. I know that some of you did both techniques, just with paper and crayons and blending colors, and as well as the coffee filters. And some of you didn't have a coffee filter and you were very creative and you just used a paper towel, and that was great. And I had somebody ask, could you use washi papers that are Japanese papers? And absolutely, try anything that you think might work. You know why? Because part of the magic and the beauty of creating artwork is the discovery process, right? When you experiment, we make discoveries. What works, what doesn't work, if we like the look of what we're making in that way with those materials. And so the process of creating your artwork is part of the fun of it, not just the outcome, not just what it looks like in the end. So I'm super proud of you. I want you to please get into your mindset, right? Get into a nice positive space, mentally and physically around your surroundings. And remember to be calm and be positive and think to yourself, I can do this, okay? Even if it seems too hard, okay? That's part of what we have to do in life, right? Get through difficult things by not quitting. So what we're going to do today is we're going to continue to learn how to take a flat, two-dimensional shape, which we have created circles, or if you used a coffee filter, it has already been put into a circle, right? It has already been cut in that shape. And we're going to transform a flat two-dimensional surface or shape into a 3D form. You say 3D form. Very good. And the D stands for dimensional, three-dimensional form. So that means that you don't just measure it two ways, the length and the width, but you can measure the depth, okay? Length, width, and depth, how deep it is, okay? So we are going to start by using your papers. So if you made a piece of paper like this with a bunch of circles, you have the choice of either cutting your circles, or since we're trying to create a flower, right? We're trying to create a 3D form that resembles a flower, okay? Coffee filter flower, piece of paper flower, okay? Your choice, whatever materials you have or would like to use, but since we're making those, nothing in nature is perfect, right? It's a biomorphic shape, right? So since it's not perfect, we are able to tear. So I will cut one, I will tear one, and you can see the difference, okay? So I'm just going to take my paper, and if you only used a coffee filter, then you don't have to, you can skip this part because you already have a circle. So bear with me. That means please be patient until I'm done. Thank you so much. So you may cut it out if you have a pair of scissors, or if someone at home will allow you to use a pair of scissors. If not, you may ask a grown-up if they could please cut these out for you, or you may tear them. So you see, I'm missing a piece here from this circle, which was making it look like it overlapped, right? So I'm just gonna simply use both hands, and I'm going to tear this paper. Why? Because nothing in nature is perfect, and so I don't have to worry about cutting it perfectly on the line, right? I can just tear it, and there are flowers that are pointy, and there are flowers whose petals are curved and look smooth. And so I'm just going to tear my paper because it doesn't matter. It can be imperfect, right? Imperfectly perfect. Okay, so I'm just tearing it. okay? And now it has a torn edge, and you can see the difference between cutting it and tearing it, right? Okay, now, it doesn't matter which way you do it. Take your circles. Now, if you have a coffee filter, you can join in on this step. We're going to simply take a scissor. It's just easiest. If we, oh, no, sorry, my bad. The coffee filter, you have the ink go through the filter so it colors both sides, right? Okay. And if you followed my directions and placed a piece of paper underneath your coffee filter, then that ink bled through onto your blank paper, creating the same look, but on a piece of paper, as opposed to the coffee filter itself. If you have this, you may also cut or tear this circle, and that will give you 2 flowers, okay? So if you're doing that and you have this white paper from last week, you may do that right now. If you used this technique of just paper, no ink, and crayons or color pencils or pastels, some of you did, you can flip it on the back side, which are white, and you can use the crayons again, and you can just rub this back side of the paper, or you could use chalks if you have chalks, or you could use oil pastels if you have oil pastels, and you could simply take those same colors or different colors. I'm gonna keep them the same, so I'm gonna do a little bit of red, and I'm just gonna rub, and I'm going to add a little bit of orange, and I'm also going to just rub that on top. And then because it is a little messy with pastels or chalks, I'm going to use a paper towel. Don't use your fingers. And I'm just going to rub in little circles. If I rub the paper, it colors my whole surface, right? Okay, and then I could even use what's left over on my paper towel to color the other one. I think I need a little bit more color in this one. That was not enough, but I'm just going to do this. Okay, and a little tiny bit of red. And the great thing about this project is that you don't have to stay in the lines, and you don't have to draw anything perfectly or a certain way. And I know that a lot of you said that you loved being able to scribble out of the lines, right? And color your circles any which way that you liked. And that's great. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. Now, we have both sides colored, and now we get to make our cut. So, I'm gonna take however many papers, one at a time. If you did 1, if you did 5, it doesn't matter. I'm going to now take my scissor, and I'm gonna go from the outside edge, and I like to leave the point of my scissor right here so it lines up with like the center of my circles. And I'm just going to make one cut, like a pizza pie, right? So if you look here, now that circle has been cut into halfway, right? Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing here, and I'm actually going to cut this circle out since I have my scissor out. So this is my piece of paper that was underneath my filter before I added water. And I'm just cutting it out. And now I have my filter as well as the paper that it was resting on. Now I do the same thing. I go from the outside edge into the center, but I stop. Once I get to the middle, I have to stop, boys and girls. I can't continue because then I will only have half of the surface, and it won't work out right. Okay, now, this is the fun part, and it's a little hard sometimes, but you can just try, just experiment, right? Have fun. We're gonna take I'll do this one first. We're gonna take this piece and we're going to curl it. Curl it and roll it like an ice cream cone, right? And an ice cream cone is a what? A delicious treat? Yes, but that's not the correct answer. It is a 3D. Very good. If you said three-dimensional form, you're correct. Because look, now this cone is 3D. We can measure length, the width of the cone, and the depth of the cone, how deep it is. And therefore, it is not flat anymore. It is a 3D form. Now look, by spinning it around, I have created something that resembles a flower. If I don't like it, look, I can uncurl it, right? It doesn't matter. I am manipulating the paper. I am making the paper do whatever it is that I want. And so I can scrunch it and pinch it and squish it and do whatever I want to it so that I feel that it looks like a flower, maybe like a rose or something, right? And so when it becomes the look that I'm looking for, I can take this, I can take a little piece of tape, like that, and I can just tape it at the bottom to keep it together. And then once I've done that, and I have the bottom part pinched, I can separate these layers of coffee filter to give it a more flower-like look. Or I can bend these down like a flap, and that will also make it look more like real petals, right? I think it's really pretty, right? It looks realistic. And then I can take it and I can find a pen, a pencil, I don't know, a straw, a crayon, whatever you have that could serve as a stem for your flower. And I'm just going to tape it right at the end of my pencil where the eraser is. Now, if you made a bunch of these and you covered this green or, I don't know, wrapped it in green paper, you would have a beautiful bouquet of flowers, right? Here's my pen that I originally had, and now I have two beautiful three-dimensional forms, right? Okay, and now let's get to these papers, right? These are a little smaller, but you do the same thing. And I wanted to show you, if you wanted to give it a different look, you could take your circle, you could, instead of making it a perfectly round circle, you could cut it like this, cut the edge with a curved, wavy line. And that will give the flower a different look. So I'll put it here, right? You see how it looks like a biomorphic shape? It's like a blob-like shape, right? Now I do the same thing. I take it, I curl it around. I'm just going around. If that's too hard, you could take a pencil, a marker, a pen, and you can do this. Put the pencil towards the point, towards the center of your circle, and then simply wrap it around. I'm using the marker to help me curl the paper all the way around, around, around until it looks like that. And now I have to pinch the bottom again, and now I have a smaller flower than the coffee filter, right? But nonetheless, it's a flower. And you don't necessarily have to do it this way, right? I'm just showing you one way. You can experiment with your papers any which way that you like. And you might come up with some great way that looks like some exotic flower, right? That nobody's ever seen. But either way, you are taking a flat, two-dimensional circle and you are transforming. That's a big word for changing. You are changing it from being flat to being three-dimensional, right? A 3D form. And so this is one that was cut with a scissor. And this one here was the one that I tore, right? I ripped the paper, and I don't know, you can choose which side you want to show on the outside. This side was my crayon side, where I rubbed the crayon and blended the colors. And this side was the side that I quickly covered after cutting and tearing with my chalks. So maybe I want this side to be out now. So I put my crayon side face up, and then I start to curl. If I stick my thumb here, like this, and pinch this side, I can just curl around and make my ice cream cone. And you could also tear, once I pinch it like this, that's actually pretty. I like how that one came out. Once I pinch this one here at the bottom of the cone, then I can go back in and I could tear, I can make little rips along the top if I wanted to, and then I could curl these little petals down and out if I wanted to. And that would give my flower a different look. Do you have to do that? No, you don't. But you can if you'd like. Let me do this one. And all we're doing, boys and girls, is we're experimenting, right? We're learning what happens when we tear the paper this way. What happens if I curl the paper like this? And everything that you do, when you manipulate the paper, when you do something to change the look of the paper, when you manipulate it, it gives you different looks. It appears different. It changes your form from one look to another. So I'm just taking these little torn pieces here. I ripped into this and I curled it down. I think I'm going to do this same kind of a flower, but I'm going to use this large coffee filter paper, and that way it'll be easier for you to see. So again, I'm gonna take this paper, I'm going to take my, how did I do that? Okay, I'm gonna take my thumb, put it here. I also hold the center of my paper, and I'm going to curl around my paper, right? And I'm just creating a cone-like form with my paper. There. Okay? And I have to pinch the bottom to keep the layers together and to keep my form. And I'm going to tape the bottom again. And we only need maybe a scissor, a little bit of tape, and your prepared papers from last week, right? Okay, so I have that here. Now I've taped it, and now I can show you a little bit clearer because this paper is larger. I can show you how I made that cut. I can cut like this, a little piece into here, or I could simply make a little rip, a little tear going down, a short one, not very long. And then that would allow me to curl this down. If I curl it like this, or use a pencil to curl, then it will give me the appearance of having separate petals coming down. And if you really want to get fancy and accurate, like a real flower, I would just take these pointy corners and cut them off and make them round. Let me try to see how you can see. Okay. And then I would just cut that pointy corner so that my petal is curved and smooth with no pointy corners or edges. And that's it. And I'm just taking my paper and I'm curling. And we're using our fingers to try to control the paper and what it does. I think it looks pretty good, right? So one more rip, and that will be our three-dimensional form coming from a flat two-dimensional shape called a circle, right? Okay. I am super proud of you, boys and girls. You did something very difficult today, this week, with me. And I appreciate all of your efforts. And I could not be more proud of you because this is hard to do. And there you have it. There is a three-dimensional flower. So I hope that you enjoyed both the process of preparing our papers, which you could make many, 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 and some of you did, and of then taking your papers from a flat two-dimensional state to a three-dimensional form that I call a flower, right? Okay, so I will see you guys next time, and I look forward to having lots of photos of these beautiful, beautiful flowers, okay? Thank you. Bye-bye.